Okay, our next presentation is Nelleke. Nelleke is the mother of Tars, um, Nelleke Koeners. She was born in the Netherlands and she's been living in Belgium since she was 7 years old. She's the mother of Tars Peters. Tars was born on the 26th of July, 1992. He had a big dream, which was to become a chef. Since he was 12 years old, he attended culinary school. And then when he had just turned 18, he pursued a specialization in global cuisine. On the 26th of September in 2010, he got into a car with a friend who didn't have a valid driver's license, and they had a crash. Due to the accident, Tars fell into a coma. After a long battle with the doctors at the facility where Tars was staying, he ended up at Professor Stephen Laurie's Coma Science Center in Liège in Belgium, 2 years after that accident. Stephen diagnosed Tars as a patient with LIS. Since that day, they've been doing everything that they can to help Tars move forward. Nelleke wants to say that as a mother, you must always follow your own instincts. You know your child, in her case, the best, and she strongly felt that Tars was trying to communicate with them but just didn't know how to. Nelleke's whole life has changed, but mostly, she says, in a positive way. Tars has given her a new perspective following that accident in 2010, and despite everything that comes our way, they continue to believe in Tars' strength. Tars, unfortunately, has broken his foot, and that's sort of waylaid Nelleke's work on this presentation, but she's kindly put together a presentation which we'll now watch. Thank you, Barker.
Good afternoon. My name is Nelleke and I'm going to tell you about my son Tars. Unfortunately, we cannot make it today in person because Tars has broken his foot and he has to go to the hospital to do a checkup with the orthopedist. Tars was born on the 26th of July 92. He was our first son. Tars was cheerful but also headstrong child. He observed everyone, and if he had a good feeling, you could be his friend, otherwise he would ignore you. He was very athletic, played football and jogged, was very passionate about nature. He was sometimes a leader and a motivator among his friends. Not daring to do something was not in his vocabulary. Tars knew from a young age what he wants to become, a chef. From the age of 12, he attended culinary school on the other side of the country, staying on boarding school. When he was 18 and graduated, he wanted to do a specialization year in world kitchen in another culinary school also on the other side of the country. The school started on the 20 September 2010. Tars lived with his three other friends in a nice apartment that he rented that year and furnished during the summer. On Sunday, September 26th, Tars left home. He had to drive 160 kilometers to be able to go to school the next day. He met up with friends and they decided to go to another friend's house, about 2 kilometers further than Tars' apartment. There were six of them and they split between two cars. Tars was sitting behind the driver. He has his seatbelt on and the boys had not been drinking. After 750 meters, the car went off the road and crashed into a metal tram pole. The driver of the car turned out not to have a valid driver's license. A girl who was in her third year of medical school immediately put us in safe position and started to reanimate him. When the police came to tell us at 3 a.m., we went immediately to the hospital. When we arrived, Tars was already being operated to relieve the pressure on his brain, and he was on a breathing machine. The doctors told us his brainstem was damaged and they couldn't reach it to stop the bleeding. It was a tense wait. After 3 days, the bleeding stopped, and after 10 days, Tars started to breathe himself. As soon as it was possible, I think it was after 3 weeks, we moved him to a closer hospital to our home. There they tried to reduce the medication, keeping him in subcoma, but Thus didn't woke up. He remained in coma. After 10 weeks of hospital, they started a 6-week of coma rehabilitation program where they tried various stimuli and movements to see if Thus would respond in any way. Unfortunately, he did not. Then they moved him to a residential and care center where he ended up between the people of 80 years and older. As parents, brother and girlfriend, we still felt that we have some kind of contact with us, but when we talked to the doctors about this, they say that it was common among parents that they imagine things because they want to see so much. This really doesn't match with the person I am. I try to convince them in every possible way, but the doctors and nurses didn't believe us. When I asked Tars to move his thumb, he moved his thumb a very little. And when I asked him to do that when the nurses or doctors are around, he didn't move it at all. And then when the doctors or nurses left the room, he moved his thumb. That's how I recognize them. The doctors stuck to their opinion that we are just imagining things. One day, about a year and a half after the accident, I read an article about Stephen Laurens in the waiting room of the dentist. I immediately took steps to contact Stephen and ask if he would examine Tars so to see what actually his brains were in which condition and if we are feeling right. For this, I also had permission for the doctor for the institution where Tars was staying, which became a real battle. They wanted to protect us from being disappointed, they say, that Stephen in the coma science group wouldn't be able to do much for us, that we need to accept that Tars was in coma and will stay in coma. After a lot of insistence, he eventually filled out the necessary documents, and in May 2012 we went to see Stephen and the coma science group in Luik. After a week of examination, they determined that Tars was this patient. For us it was a great relief because it confirmed our feeling that Tars was trying to contact us. We learned a method to communicate with Tars, and we do this through eye blinking. After that, we looked for a rehabilitation center to train this and to see how to teach Tars other things as well. It's now almost 14 years after the accident. Communication with Tars is still mainly through his eyes. Tars can drive an electric wheelchair for about 20 minutes, eat a small meal, and his diet mainly consists of tube feeding. He always also drinks a half glass of beer, and he's now learning to communicate with a computer. Everything takes a lot of time, but we make progress every day. I'm so glad I followed my intuition and we didn't accept what the doctors told us. As mother, as parents, as girlfriend, you know your child best, and you have to follow your gut feeling. Thanks to this, Tars still has a life. I can't bear to think what would happen to him, or how he could have felt if he hadn't done this. Tars is a happy man who is surrounded by a lot of love of his parents, brother and girlfriend, and he can clearly communicate his wishes and desires to us. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Nelleke. That was a really interesting presentation. It's very fortunate that you managed to find Stephen Lorries. I know Stephen well. I've worked with him. He was my PhD supervisor for back in 2012, and he's a wonderful man and a very caring person. But you wonder about how many other people there are around the world who are being misdiagnosed and not being heard. So it was really heartwarming to hear Nelleke's story, and thank you very, very much for sharing that with us.